Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, in this particular video, we're going to explore something interesting today. You know, in a recent video I just did, I just explained the difference in job titles and job descriptions between a boxing manager and a boxing promoter, which is perfect for this video. It's a perfect segue to this video because this video deals with both of those job titles in boxing and job descriptions in boxing, and it deals with a federal law here in the United States of America that I'm not really sure how many people know a lot of what it states and what it's actually about. So in this video, I'm going to do my best, from my knowledge, to explain what exactly this law is and what it means and how it affects boxing. So that law is a law that we refer to here in America as the Muhammad Ali Act. It's a federal law called the Muhammad Ali Act. Now, if you never heard of this, you might be asking, what is the Muhammad Ali Act? Well, the Muhammad Ali Act was a federal law passed by the United States Congress. It was introduced in the year of 1999. It was enacted in the year of 2000. And basically what the law is, in layman's terms, in simple terms, the law was basically just to ensure that there was no conflict of interest between a boxing promoter and a boxing manager. Because sometimes back in the old days, the boxing promoter would be the boxing manager, which is a direct conflict of interest because first of all, a boxing manager, as we established in the last video, a boxing manager's job is to look out for the long-term interests of his fighter and guide his career. And a boxing promoter, his job is to put on the best show possible for the networks and for the fans, so he can make money and turn over a profit for himself and keep people coming back, you know? So based on those two job descriptions and job responsibilities, if you're both of them, you damn right there's gonna be some conflict of interest. So you might have a fighter who, you know, you might tell him you're looking out for his long-term interest, but really you're just looking out for your pocket. So a lot of times back in the day, back in like the Don King days, when Don King was ruling, when Don King was a preeminent figure in boxing of boxing promoters, when he was the guy amongst boxing promoters, when he was the most powerful man in boxing amongst boxing promoters, he oftentimes, and people joke about it, but he would do some crazy stuff. He would have like one fighter that he would take to the ring, and that fighter would get beat by another fighter, and by the end of the fight, he's signed the other fighter and got rid of he signed the other fighter that won and discarded the fighter that he took to the ring and lost the fight. And it just created a really bad culture in boxing where fighters weren't being protected. And, it's funny because a lot of fighters now, in these days, they complain about being exploited and how these promoters are dirtbags and whatnot, but it's nothing. It's a far cry from what fighters of yesteryear had to go through. Now, just reading through what the Muhammad Ali Act states, the reason they forced this law, or this actually got passed the United States Congress, was because boxing isn't governed by any sort of league or association or established organization. You have companies within boxing that are major players like Matchroom Boxing, Golden Boy Promotions, Premier Boxing Champions, Top Rank Boxing, but boxing as a whole is not governed by any league or association like the NBA is for basketball or the NFL is for American football. So that's why they also stated that they believe that state officials were not ensuring the protection of boxers, and that they're not informed of the contracts boxers have agreed to. And yeah, basically, they also stated that promoters are taking advantage of the sport by conducting dishonest business affairs. So a lot of times, promoters would sell fighters a dream, lie to them to exploit them, get what they got out of them, and then kick them to the curb once they got what they wanted. And because of that, these weren't the most what's the word looking for? These weren't the most best business practice. They weren't being punished for their dishonorable business practices. You see what I'm saying? So that's what it was. But this law, the Muhammad Ali Act, doesn't come without criticism. Okay, it doesn't come without criticism. there's some direct criticisms of this law, the Muhammad Ali Act. Now, one of the criticisms with this Muhammad Ali Act is that basically, it has rules, it has guidelines, but it leaves the enforcement of the rules up to the state without defined guidelines. So there's a lot of gray areas with the Muhammad Ali Act. So think about it, right? In America is a massive country. There's 300 million plus people. There's 50 states. So think about it, right? In every state in America, you have 50 different boxing commissions with 50 different sets of rules. So if you're leaving 50 different people with 50 different interpretations of the Muhammad Ali Act, there's going to be clear-cut differences as to what a fighter can get away with in one state that he can't get away with in another. And this causes a lot of confusion amongst people in boxing at times. So that's one criticism of it, and I think it's a fair criticism because look, I'm personally I'm a man of absolutes. I want to know exactly what I can and can't do, and I don't want to leave it. I don't want to leave what a clear-cut federal law is. I don't want to leave that interpretation up to 50 different people because then you get all kinds of different interpretations and it causes confusion. You see what I'm saying? And then another criticism of the Muhammad Ali Act is that people believe that there's no reason that Congress should be trying to get involved with regulating the boxing industry because it doesn't regulate any other sport. You don't see Congress regulating NFL. You don't see Congress regulating the NHL or the NBA. Congress did step in and get involved in the baseball Balco scandal, but that's about it. They're not really regulating the sport of baseball as a whole. So the Muhammad Ali Act, the intent of it was to basically protect the fighters, but because of the amount of gray areas within the law, within this congressional law of the Muhammad Ali Act, it's basically a lot of gray areas, and promoters, managers, and people in boxing who have no conscience that are just trying to make money. These people have found ways to get around this. The best example I can give to you guys of somebody who's in violation of the Muhammad Ali Act, but doesn't really get penalized for it because he's found ways around it, and he's used the gray areas of this law to his advantage. So you got to give the man some credit for being smart and being a sharp guy. But a guy by the name of Al Haymon. Al Haymon is a guy that's gotten around this. Now Al Haymon is a guy that he made a lot of money and a lot of he gained a lot of notoriety for his business dealings in the music industry, putting on some of the biggest tours here in America for like Prince and Michael Jackson and just all these musical acts, Wu-Tang Clan, and his company put on a lot of these big time acts in the 80s and the 90s, and then eventually he found his way into boxing. So he actually started a promotional company called Premier Boxing Champions, PBC. He got well over $500,000 from a hedge fund called Waddell and Reed to start it up. And Al Haymon, he's not a manager and he's not a promoter. He's what he called an advisor. So he's not either one of those. He's not either a promoter or he's not a promoter or manager. So he's not putting on boxing shows for his own interests, and he's not guiding the careers the way people would normally define it. But he is advising them on what they can or what they should or shouldn't do. So that's how he gets around it. But what Al Haymon has done is, so he has his company, Premier Boxing Champions, with the whole roster of fighters that features the likes of Deontay Wilder, Danny Garcia, Keith Thurman. He also advised Floyd Mayweather. Those are his guys. But with Al, he has promotional companies that set up as frontmen, as basically people that work for him, but they're not in his name. So TGB Promotions, DeBella Entertainment. Companies like that. You'll see these companies on Al Haymon shows and cards, but Al Haymon's name's not on it. And then technically he is a manager because he is guiding the careers of fighters, but he's not doing it in the traditional sense of how boxing does it. So he gets around it, but he is in violation of the Muhammad Ali Act, and that's what it is. So that's what it is. That's the Muhammad Ali I can explain as best way as I can. If you guys disagree or agree with anything I said, let me know in the comments down below. If you learned anything new, let me know in the comments down below. But like I say in every single video, you can love me or you can hate me. But I'm just a kid from Daniel. So until next time, take care, guys.